Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of Micadelic. I'm Mike Brancatelli. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the show. Thanks for joining us on this journey of curiosity and learning and growing and this exploration that we try to do here on the show. And by we, I mean me, but I also mean you. Couldn't do this if no one listened. So thank you for listening. If no one was listening, I would just be like an insane person screaming on a street corner somewhere. So thank you for listening to me, and thank you for listening to the people that I bring on this show. Speaking of, very excited for today's guests. Absolutely thrilled. Really, this guy, Daniel Eisenman, he is definitely leading the way, or at least one of the people leading the way in what I like to consider solutions to the confines of our accepted, allowable reality. Maybe, we find ourselves in situations in life or going through life, not necessarily fully embracing it, not necessarily fully being ourselves, becoming ourselves. And this is a guy who's, leading retreats, writing books, talking about these issues, and really just getting out there and living, not staying small and staying within the sanctioned playpen of allowable opinion and thought and experience, but shattering the mold, marching to the beat of his own drum, and creating a path forward that is unique, creative, and inspiring, and helping others to do the same as well. Daniel's written the book Breaking Normal, which I highly recommend. Read it last year and thought it was really great. And that's why I reached out to Daniel. Breaking Normal, Rewild Your Inner Child and Set the Truth Free. And we talk about that on the show. We talk about the book. We talk about Daniel's new podcast with the same name, the Breaking Normal podcast, and his international tribe design, how that all got started and what happens during those retreats and events. And it's a really wonderful, wonderful show. I hope you guys really enjoy that. I am sitting here in Denver, Colorado. I got the door open. It's cold outside, but there's cold air coming in and it feels good. And it's nice. It's nice on the skin and it makes me feel alive. It makes me remember that I'm alive. And, Daniel and I touch on these things in the show. And it's really, this idea of breaking normal, right? It's just, I absolutely am such a huge fan of this, that we become very comfortable with having our reality served to us on a plate. And we're like, okay, great. Like, this is what it is. This is what we're getting. No need to really put in effort. No need to really expose ourselves to anything that's uncomfortable or challenging. Really, we could all just sit around and be blobs like in the movie WALL-E, where they all get carried around on little hover scooters because everyone's obese and they drink, Mountain Dew all day and watch things on their screens. We can adapt to that if we want to. It's certainly an option. Then there's also another option that's maybe a little bit more challenging, requires a little bit more work, a little bit more participation. Maybe you would think that, taking a cold shower in the morning or, leaving the door open in February in Colorado is, well, that's not comfortable. I'm cold. Can we shut that door? Oh, it's not, it's not comfortable. It's not nice. I don't want to experience that. But as Daniel mentions on this show, he talks about some ways that we can get around that, and some different perspectives to take when looking at these things, and the value that they can bring to us when we expose ourselves to these other types of interesting modalities to explore this wonderful gift of a journey called life. And so, I just I invite everyone to try some of the things that we talked about in the show, and try and put yourself in situations that might not be comfortable. Even if it's as simple as just leaving the screen door open so the cold Colorado air can come in, and that these kinds of things are really the things that bring me into my body more, get me out of my head, bring me into my heart space, and make me remember that I am alive, I'm breathing, that I'm existing in this time, that I'm a fully sovereign, autonomous human being, that, it's a really great thing. And this kind of stuff has helped me on my journey, and I like to bring people on the show that are contributing to that and that I'm learning from and being inspired by, and that are really bringing these unique and creative gifts to the world. So I don't really have much more to say other than, that I hope you guys like this show, and I thought it was a great conversation. You can go check out Daniel's stuff, Breaking Normal. It's on Amazon, on Audible, Breaking Normal podcast, everywhere podcasts are found. And the International Tribe Design, you can go and find that on his website. And follow him on Instagram by the same name, Daniel Eisenman. And follow Mycadelic, follow Mycadelic_podcast on Instagram. I am going to be putting out way more content that's going to be going through Instagram. So lots of stuff that I'm going to be creating that's an extension of the podcast will be going through Instagram, and I'm putting it all up there. So follow me there for more. If you love this show, if you want to support the show and show your love, help this message spread and grow and share it with other people, that's one way that you can do it. Just share it with other people, like it, subscribe, of course. And if you want to go a step further, you can go onto Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. You can leave us a rating or a review or both, whichever you prefer. Either one helps the show out, helps us spread this message, helps us grow, and helps kind of, in a way, create a better world, because that's sort of what I'm trying to do. I know that's what Daniel's trying to do. It's just kind of, create a situation that is fully engaging and inspiring for other people so that they can come out and they can create things that are fun and interesting and creative and really just deep and profound and, all that good stuff. It's you guys that are out there. I'm just trying to facilitate a conversation or provoke some thinking. So, but it's you guys and the people that you share that with, and the people that you tell about this and let them know, what's going down over here at Mycadelic Podcast. So follow me on Instagram at Mycadelic_podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. If you want to go a step further, you can go to patreon.com/MikeBrank, BRANC, and you can donate as little as $1 a month, $2 a month, $3 a month, $5, $10, $50, $1,000, $1 million, whatever you want to donate goes to this show, goes to improving this show, making it better. And couldn't do it without you guys. Thanks to all the people that support on Patreon. Thanks to the people who have participated in the Mycadelic WhatsApp Inner Sanctum 24/7 chat group, where all kinds of interesting people from all around the world are meeting and connecting together. We're finding the others, we're bringing them together. They're talking, they're exchanging stories, trip reports, information, news articles, interesting little tidbits of things here and there. And it's just such a great group of people to be hanging out with and chatting with via WhatsApp. All day if you like, or you can put it on mute and just participate whenever you want, whatever it is. It's a great way to chat and hang out. And I'm in there. I pop in there and I share some stuff. And a lot of the times what I do is, for my Patreon people, they're the producers of this show. They are the producers of this show. They help Mycadelic go. And so a lot of times I release things to them, get some feedback, give them sort of first dibs on some new stuff that's coming out. And speaking of new stuff, we have rewards finally for Patreon people coming out. We have Mycadelic t-shirts, we have stickers, we might even have some more things that are coming that way. And really excited about that. I designed the t-shirts and everything, and I think it's really cool. Really looks nice. And you can check that out on patreon.com/MikeBrank. That's BRANC. I'm really excited about these things. I'm going to be doing a live podcast at the Good Cinema event at the Alamo Draft House in Denver, Colorado. Or I think it's right outside of Denver. I'm sorry, I blanked on the city, but it's here because there's two of them. But it's the Alamo Draft House in Sloan's Lake on March 26th. That's a Tuesday, and they're going to be screening. Good Cinema is going to be screening the event, the movie rather Neurons to Nirvana. And they're going to have a panel there of people. We're going to have Kevin Matthews, former guest of the show, talking about Decriminalize Denver, Sarah Gale, former guest of the show, talking about the Zendo project and MAPS and what they're doing. They're going to have some people from Dance Safe, Veterans for Natural Rights. They're going to be there. And I'm going to be doing a after party podcast live at Barfly at the Alamo Drafthouse in Sloan's Lake after the Good Cinema Neurons to Nirvana event. And I encourage you guys to come out and participate in that. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have a lot of interesting people on there as I put this together. But the first Micadelic Live podcast event, Tuesday, March 26th at the Alamo Drafthouse Barfly in Sloan's Lake. Looking forward to that. Hope you guys that are here come out. That would be amazing. So without further ado, you know what to do. I said it all already. Daniel doesn't need any more introduction. What he says in this podcast episode is really great. Really enjoyed this conversation. Have a listen for yourself and take it away.
Psychedelics are illegal not because a loving government is concerned that you may jump out of a third-story window. Psychedelics are illegal because they dissolve opinion structures and culturally laid down models of behavior and information processing. They open you up to the possibility that everything you know is wrong.
We don't need new laws that control our consciousness and rigidly place it in a prison.
Cognitive liberty. The fact that as adults, if we're not hurting anybody else, we should have the right to explore the contours of our own consciousness without any mediation or legislation on the part of somebody else.
Reject authority. Authority is a lie.
Or is it perception?
Information is power, but we have to seize the opportunity.
Breaking Normal, the book, the podcast that you just launched, International Tribe Design. I see the posts, I see the stuff that's going on from a distance, and I'm like, man, this is fun to see this happening. This is someone that kind of just gets it, and there's a joy that kind of emits from the things that you're putting out there, and it's just so good to connect with you finally.
Yeah, for me, and I also would say my daughter, I see my daughter, when she's in her genius or in her bliss or in her joy, she wants to share it. She wants to show it off. And it's not about, she's not doing it necessarily like, oh, this will look good, or maybe she is, maybe she's got to that level. But there's something, when a pure energy comes through me, I love to share it. And social media is such a cool way to do that. And now there's like different ways to do it, anyone can create a whole new art form at any time because the world is watching.
Yeah. And that getting back to that sort of like the child's wonder and awe and curiosity and just generosity of like, wow, like this is life, this is cool. Like every time I'm around young kids, I get that feeling. And like, even I was walking in the park the other day and I saw this dog on a leash and he was just so excited to be a dog and like so excited to be alive. And it's like, yeah, like bringing people back to that. Like that's what I see when I see what's going on with you. So I think you just had your a recent event happen, right? Another tribe design went down. Is that right?
Yep. The most recent one was on the big island of Hawaii. And that was over the New Year's. So we typically do them, it was January 3rd. Through the 6th or 7th, depending on if they were training or if they were just attending. And that was technically New Year's Evolution Fest 4.0. So the idea, I would say, was birthed, or the idea of tribe design as a modality, as a practice, as an art, as a lifestyle, I would say was really birthed in Anahola, Kauai, about 4 years prior to that event. So we're still riding this wave known as tribe design. And the last event was absolutely epic.
Yeah. So what kind of things happen at the tribe designs? Like when people are, I see this stuff happening, and it looks like, wow, I want to be a part of that, and I hope to attend one day. And the kind of things that go on there. What's sort of like the mission, the vision, and sort of the activities that take place during these gatherings?
Awesome. So like, if I could say it with the least amount of words possible, it would probably sound something like health through honesty and heart sync over group think.
Ooh, nice.
And what it is, it's bringing back the remembrance and the realization of the roots of where, like, how humans originally interacted with one another before the memetics / culture / myth became arguably overly strong. And so getting a group of people together under the premise of designing the strongest tribe as fast as possible, using the four modalities that we focus on that I think are really, if you're going to look at 4 quadrants or the formula of how we do that, it's usually play shops or workshops revolved around music, mystery, memetics, and movement. And a lot of activities include all 4. And a lot of it's also around communication, especially like confidently communicating creativity and getting leaders that might not typically team up because they disagree about something like God, money, or sex or whatever. So getting them past the groupthink that might be dividing the realization that someone specializing in one thing is awesome because it allows you to specialize in something different. And when those powers are combined, it's amazing. You don't need to surround yourself with only people that are like you or think like you. There's a really big opportunity to team up with leaders that have a different mindset. And so not necessarily like-minded, but more like like-hearted. And literally leveraging taboo topics and group communication format to get people to like own their truth, to step up and own their truth and stop hiding or stop disclaiming or stop subduing or stop beating around the bush, filter the fluff, show us your genius like a little kid would when they're in their bliss. And when that happens, it's really fun to see everyone specialize in their own way and then synergize those powers with a group of people. It's pretty much a game changer, I'd say, for most people. And that's like where J.P. Sears did his first comedy showing in a way.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
A lot of times major geniuses are activated, and it's pretty powerful. Yeah, it's like not a group of people that are like lying, like, oh, you're so good at this, you're so good at that. It's going to be like, show us you, and we'll give you honest feedback, and don't let us bias you on what you really want to do. Let us just be us, you be you. We'll find each other, and it'll be great, and it might be messy too. And man, like starting with that as like a 3 or 4 day experience, a lot of those people that have been to the events I work with, I might live with, it's like becoming a family really quickly. I think it's reminding people that friends are family too.
Yeah.
With the right containers set, and the container really everyone owning their own healthy, loving selves, regardless of what everyone else around them is doing.
Yeah, that's super important, especially, in today's world with all this kind of noise and distractions that we have there, getting out into nature, getting involved in these things. And like you said, I love how you play with language. I love how you kind of deconstruct things, reword things, take a look at them and say, okay, well, let's phrase this differently. Let's put this in a different container, as you said, or a different context. It's so important, and I think that really what you said about not like-minded, but more like-hearted, that's a super important thing to think about, because oftentimes we think about getting together with people that think like us. But at the core, at our real deep-rooted core fundamental human nature, we all want that human connection, that thrill, what it is to be alive and to be being ourselves. And I think anyone that's ever experienced that in a group setting, in a community setting, really gets that there. And that's amazing work that you're doing there with that, or amazing fun. that you're doing, as you would say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, I would
yeah.
say we all think differently, so we can tell each other apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is very important, right? To be unique, to be, living your truth and your uniqueness, and then, man, that sort of like melting pot that comes together of all these unique individuals that makes up this group collective. That's exciting. That's thrilling. That's energizing. That's fun.
Indeed. And I think you were asking me something else that I'm happy to bounce back to.
Yeah. So I love sort of, the language that you're bringing to this, if we want to call it a movement, this tribe. I love, the what you talked about in your book, and we can talk more about that. We can get to that, but it seems like more of a, like a vision, this idea that's coming together, breaking normal, this sort of like mantra, if you will. I love it. I think there's it's so kind of just for the right time right now. I mean, it's for any time, but where did this come from? Where, walk me through, I guess, like your story. Like, how did you come to this realization? What gave you the sort of motivation to say, you know what, like, I'm not accepting what society is handing out in this like allowable playpen of ideas and expression. I want to go beyond that. What happened for you?
Probably a like a piling up of frustration or a bullshit, like seeing bullshit within communities that I was a part of, whether it was a baseball team or my family or a group of friends, where everyone would talk about Mike one way with Mike, but when Mike wasn't around, they would talk about him in a different way. I think I got fed up with that. And then I started studying. Oh man, it's a long story, but let me think. The Cliff Notes.
We got some
long
time,
story, long story short, we started running retreats on like alternative spring break retreats. Instead of just going to Jamaica at a 5-star resort, like an all-inclusive resort that looks just like where those people may have came from. To get really trashed and like what happened there stays there kind of thing, and blah blah blah, go live our lives for this 4 days and then go back to this normalcy that seems so comfortable and fed. It's as a all right. So a lot of people like to eat wild food. Like eating wild meat seems superior to farmed meats for most people, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there's a much different energy when someone just eats what they're fed versus going to choose for themselves. And I think it just kept stacking. And these retreats, something about doing an alternative spring break retreat for one thing was like, oh wow, man, there's people answered the call. Like people were joining us instead of going to Cancun to get wasted. People were like coming to Costa Rica to bungee jump, surf, zip line. This was like 11 years ago. Costa Rica is so much more on the map now, it seems. Just have a great adventurous time and get to know each other and kind of like build a tribe. This was even before I even understood the concept. And then my brothers and I, we had a company called Rob Raws. We started promoting our lifestyle on YouTube, and that caught a lot of traction. And we started doing Rob Raws retreats. And we found that the retreats were the best, like the most fun. Even if we were surfing or doing something crazy like skydive, whatever it was. I don't know if we went skydive. We bungee jumped at a retreat before. I don't know if we ever went skydiving. Mm-hmm. I haven't been skydiving, but anyways, regardless of like the stereotypical highlight, the real highlight was like getting those group of people to communicate at such a high level, like such a different level, such a addressing the elephant in the room. Nothing left unaddressed. Just people being freely themselves, even if it was controversial. Like those seem to be the highlights. So we started. I partnered with one of my friends who was studying with the author of Radical Honesty. His name is Brad Blanton, and we started running retreats together. And my friend that was studying with Brad and I, and it was a lot of adventure in nature and a lot of like fun, comfortable communication, so people could really be themselves and get to know each other. And there was so many awesome, like friendships and connections and marriages happened so fast. That's where I met Deanna.
That's where you met your wife.
Yeah, at a Rob Ross retreat, and then we got married 6 months later. I proposed to her on April Fool's Day, and we got married the next day. And it looks like you actually, on the background of your Skype picture, are you in Peru?
Yeah, Machu Picchu.
Yeah, awesome. So after our retreat in Albany, New York, we went to Peru for a month together, and yeah, it was just like stuff like that happens. Businesses are started, babies are conceived. Marriages are proposed. That's where actually JP proposed to Amber.
Mm-hmm.
He proposed to her at the Tribe Design in Montana. They met at the Tribe Design in Costa Rica. So it's like an incredibly true affirm for these experiences. So we keep doing them, or they keep doing us, however you want to look at it. And the current iteration is Tribe Design. Like after doing all these Rob Ross retreats with my brothers, I may have been like 30 or so. They kind of, my youngest brother now runs like a wedding videography business and just had his first son. And then my middle brother just is doing like real estate stuff in Tennessee currently. So we kind of started finding our own grooves, but I've really stuck with this idea of designing a tribe. And yeah, I partnered with one of my friends, Frank J, after a mastermind event, and we just sat there and we were like, what do we want to do? Or what do we want to do? What do we want to do? What do we want to do? Like, what are we good at? What's like trending? What would appeal to the most amount of people? How can we serve the most people? And after this like long talk, we decided we were going to do an international tribe design retreat. And my wife was there, and it was in a place called Anahola, Kauai, which is actually known to be like the birthplace of souls and some sort of myth. And myth, not meaning it's not true or not. I'm just like it's just some sort of idea. And maybe in Hawaiian culture, I'm not exactly sure. So something was birthed there when we were there. I'll tell you that. And we decided to run our first event a month later. And pretty close by, and we almost got 100 people there under this idea of a tribe design, and amazing people like my friend Dustin Thomas. People might know, like a lot of people know him from playing with Nako and Medicine for the People. He does his own shows now. He was just touring with like a John Butler Trio.
Oh, cool.
Michael Franti and the Spearhead and all that. And he opened, like he was the opening song to our tribe design all of a sudden in Kauai, and we're in a circle with almost 100 people, and I'm like, whoa, this just all happened really fast. And here we are about 4 something years later. We're finding this experience. And we've actually started training people to run tribe designs because it just so aligned with so many people, and we created this pretty quite the initiation experience. And there has been more than a handful of people that have gone through it. And they are actually the ones that will be the main facilitators at our next tribe design in Austin.
Amazing. Yeah, I think you said initiators, and I feel like this is so important because I read a lot of Joseph Campbell and Robert Bly and this king, warrior, magician, lover, and these books kind of geared towards men and rites of initiation and rites of passage and these sorts of things. And I think this is something that we're really lacking, sort of in our world, at least in, our mainstream world, that we don't really get these things. We don't really get these initiations. We don't really get to express ourselves, and what I find from this is people that are really kind of suffering. They're suffering because they haven't really found their true inner self. They haven't really gone through the necessary initiation rites in order to be leaders of the tribe that we all exist in, this human tribe that we are. And that kind of leads to these man-child kind of people that are just running amok and messing everything up, and they don't really have, they haven't really come fully into their selves. Is there? I know you work with men and women. You work with everyone. Is there anything in particular for you? That being a man, and helping other men, sort of find themselves a little bit more, or just realize that like, hey, it's okay. I can cry, or I can talk about my feelings or something. Is that something you've experienced yourself and witnessed?
Yeah. I definitely think it's probably rooted in the idea of a misunderstanding competition Or maybe someone would say out of balance masculinity or toxic. I don't know. I hear a lot about toxic masculinity lately. I'm like, it's like a buzzword all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a buzzword. Yeah, that's trending. It's trending.
So when someone misunderstands what competition is at its core, if they think if someone's competing under the context that the person they're competing with is on a different team than they're on, then they're confused, I would say. I think we're all on the same team, and I think we think differently for a big reason. I think we even have polarity for a big reason.
What is that? Why do you think that?
It's like iron sharpening iron. It's as DNA. It's in our chemistry. Like the bonds that make up DNA are tightly woven in an upward spiral because there's this like constant pull and push. It's a magnet. It's like a magnet.
Mm.
I don't know why. That's a great question. It's like, why is like the yin yang, or why is DNA like that? Why? Yeah, that gets to the real question. This is where it gets to, in my opinion, questions are arguably superior to answers because I don't know. I'm more suspicious of an answer than I am. I feel like curiosity is meant to be. I think without having a desire, then why would we want to live? And I think one of the truest desires is to like learn and love. And there is a grand mystery that I think if we all agreed, it would be boring. So how can we like team up with these disagreements or these polarities or these differences rather than resorting to like destroying one another? That's the issue. That's the situation.
Yeah. Or like, locking ourselves in a cage of our own, the prison of our own beliefs or the prison of our own, reality that we think is reality. And, like you so expertly showcased on the cover of your book, this guy in a jail cell, sitting behind bars here. He's got this long nose, this long Pinocchio nose, and there's a key hanging out on the outside there. And that I think is something that really communicates a lot of power. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what this represents, what this is, it's breaking normal, rewild your inner child and set the truth free. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that and that image and what that means to you.
Yeah, and to just continue, like it is so on brand for what we were just communicating about. There is an initiation factor in men to fully be themselves.
Yeah.
And to show up. It doesn't matter if you win or lose as much as it matters as you show up. And the idea of winning and losing or competing is meant to drive you to the next level. Now, some people are so scared of hearing a certain way that they won't try, that they'll sit there in their self-imposed prison with all like a reality that's completely contrived from their own mind. And yes, people that do that have typically been highly influenced by like cultural memes or ideas, maybe perpetuated from their preachers or teachers, that may be like what they blame. But I believe like where blame begins, reality ends. So that person that's sitting in the self-imposed prison is probably in a state of blame or victimization rather than one of creation.
Mm.
And back to the competition with that's a big thing of the initiation is getting men to show up fully how they are in a loving way, and we're all on the same team. And you'll realize that competition is cooperation, and any blaming anyone else for anything is not real because we're the ones that are choosing our perception right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's the recognition or the realization of that, like, oh, I am choosing this, or holy shit, I have a choice. And, the reason why I kind of brought up men is because, well, I mean, I'm a man and you're a man. And, I think that, trying to focus on maybe like improving, that demographic, that helps women too. That helps everybody, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think like every time I love also these events because we're highly catalytic to people communicating what they really are quickly. And I love that because I feel like a whole new world opens up to me. There is a cultural collective belief that there is one Earth, and that's cool. But I also think there's like 7.5 billion or so, or 8 billion universes right now that I can learn about by getting to know someone when they are willing to accurately report what's happening for them.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and to use like the breaking normal language, universe, right? Like from your
Exactly.
subjective
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. So yeah, you have a lot going on. You have the tribe designs. You have, I think, an app that I saw that you just released. This podcast, the Breaking Normal podcast, the book that I read last year that's fantastic and highly recommend to everybody. What's kind of really piquing your interest the most? I know sometimes it could be hard to sort of like pick one. Maybe it all kind of comes together for you. But what's kind of currently keeping you excited and motivated and having fun, and what are you most interested in working on right now?
Yeah, I think the major freedom catalyst in my life right now, if I was going to pinpoint it on one entity, is probably my daughter. She's almost 2. She's learning about the world very much through me,
Amazing.
and I don't know what's more important than her. So how I show up for her is probably very indicative of how I'm showing up for a lot of things, including with my wife, including with my dog, including with my business, including with my friends, including with my family, including with myself. So I'd use that as a gauge for sure. That's a high priority, is making sure Davina is experiencing the world in a way that I would say is less biased by cultural limitations and more geared towards creativity and curiosity.
Excellent. Yeah, every child should have that opportunity. That's amazing. So your daughter is your guru.
Indeed. One of like I said, 8 billion, but man,
Right.
she is really the one I've chosen to spend the most time with.
Yeah, and I think most people would probably recognize you and Davina from the viral video that really kind of went off, and it's the Om Daddy. She's crying, and you give her a nice Om, and she just is there sitting quietly in bliss, entranced in what's going on. Was that something that you started doing a lot and you're like, hey, this is working, let me share this with people? Or was that just something that happened in the moment? And also, on top of that, like, how was that for you to have something like that go so viral like that?
Yeah, awesome. Basically, my friends, family, I think my friend Ryan Baldus from Mystic Misfits may have been one of the first person that suggested a group oming on Davina inside Deanna's belly. So that became a bit of a ritual of sorts, like oming to Davina in the belly. So when Davina was out of the belly, I would also ohm to her. And I was doing this live video with her, like laying by my side. It was pretty fresh off the birth, and probably about 2 weeks or so, I think. And she just started, like, all of a sudden, for like 18 minutes or 19 minutes in the live video, she was so peaceful and calm. And then all of a sudden, she started raging and like screaming. So I just stopped what I was saying and doing, and I just ohmed to her. 2 seconds later, she was sleeping, and then I was like, "Oh, that was like, man, that was cool."
Yeah.
Oh, so synchronous. Like, Dustin Thomas, actually, I remember him making a comment. He's like, "Whoa!" And then all these other comments started pouring in. I'm like, "Wow, I'm gonna re-upload that clip on my fan page." And then that video got like millions of views per hour for about 24 hours or so.
Yeah.
And then it's still going viral, like on different news channels and different social media pages. And that's how that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched it the other day and sent it to my brother who has some, crying children. So I was like, "Hey, check this out." And every time I see it too, it just brings me so much joy because it's like, "Oh, wow." It's just like, "Oh, look at that kind of like that sound of the universe, whatever, is like, it's something I think that resonates with us on a really deep level. And then you could just see it right there. It's apparent in that video.
Yeah, it's pretty special. It's so special, like, and obviously when it went so viral, so much stuff was happening. You were asking what happened. There was so much. Like, I don't think I had published my book at this point. And I was like, man, come on. Like, news channels were interviewing me, and I was like, man, it'd be really nice to tell them about Breaking Normal.
Oh, yeah.
So there was definitely a crunch time to like start producing content, like making, like finishing the book and such.
Oh,
Actually,
so
that happened right when
you were working on it at the time, but it wasn't done.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, that was the order. I got it published pretty quickly after the birth, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right.
When
When
I saw that birth, I was like, "What am I waiting? Why am I waiting for? It's time for me to birth this book," because I was sitting on it for a while.
Yeah.
So a lot happened, and I made more videos because most common, like, does it always work? I'm like, no. I mean, what does it work? What does that even mean? Does it work? Does she go to sleep every time I owned her? No. Does it calm her? Probably. Does she always stop crying? No. But it works in the sense that I'm oming and I'm bringing more awareness to my breath, and I'm like connecting with my daughter. It's always working in that way.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I made more videos, and of the ones that like worked. Like, people thought they worked, like from screaming to calming, and those are still going viral. So it's just like this. It's funny. It's funny to see, like, so many celebrities, like Marianne Williamson shared it. That was cool, and I was like, Jay Shetty shared it, but he didn't tag me. That was interesting. That's happened as well. Like, people wanted me to license the video. There was these licensing companies, and I talked to JP about it some, and I don't know. It's something about licensing an ohm didn't sound so.
How do we
organic.
capitalize on this baby? Yeah.
And it was more like, actually, it really seems to want to be. It's still spreading, so it's so fascinating to me. Like, there's the frequency that really resounds the most is an ohm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I could just see, like you were saying, being interviewed on news shows and stuff. I could just see like a lot of people being like, "So is this the trick? Is this the solution? Is this how I shut my kid up?" And it's like, you just brought up a great point, and like, yeah, it's like it's working all the time because as a parent, you're probably getting to like step back from what's going on, center yourself, take a breath, and get into the moment. So yeah, it's always working on some level, but it's not like a magical trick to shut a baby up,
Yeah, and it might be, though. It like might be in certain contexts. It doesn't work the same way every time, but like in the beginning, especially the very first, like I would say, new parents, I would highly encourage you to not only to experiment with it because it might seem like magic, and not because it's always going to be like that, but then you might make it a habit of oming with your child. What a cool ritual!
Yeah, definitely. Good bonding experience for sure. Did you always want to have kids? Did you ever think about that before you got married and started a family? Was that something that crossed your mind?
Yeah, I've been always like aligned with the idea of reproducing, of creating new life with the woman that I love. It wasn't something that was like, I gotta do this. This is my bucket list. This is what I'm meditating on. But it's seen by like me doing what seemed to be most blissful or exciting or passionate, aligned me with that out of nowhere. Like, the time when I met Deanna was probably the time of my life when I was highly curious if I'm even interested in being married or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people, with my girlfriend, we think about this kind of stuff, and I think we both want kids, but it's like, whoa, like the responsibility, like, oh, that just like kind of terrifies me to some degree because it's like, man, I feel like a kid still, and it's like, I know you don't have to kind of like make this separation. I could still live in that world, but it's like, to what degree did this kind of like change your life? Did you feel changed afterwards? I'm sure you did. What did that feel like for you?
Yeah, a totally new season, and Yeah, I did. I had none of those stories. Like, oh, I know a lot of people. A lot of people were basically. This is how it worked for us. A lot of people were telling us, when you have a dog, this isn't happening. Because I've been traveling at this point in my life for like 6 or 7 years, and this is before Breaking Normal was birthed as a name or as a mimetic or as a meme. And I had so many people telling me what I was doing wasn't going to work when this happened.
Mm-hmm. Haters.
And and then some of this were like just friends too. They just like they couldn't handle the idea that this could work.
Right.
Whatever that means. Once again, whatever the heavens works me.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, I started traveling. For instance, I've been traveling with Deanna. Like when you have a girlfriend, you can't do that anymore, Daniel. All of a sudden, I had a girlfriend, and I was traveling the world still and loving it and running retreats with her together.
Nice.
And then we got married, and then like still doing that. And all of a sudden, I had a bonsai plant that I was traveling. She gave me a bonsai plant one time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? Like, oh my goodness, I love it, but what do I do with it? And I was like, oh, I'll just travel. I'll just travel with it. And I was traveling around the world with a bonsai plant. And then she wanted a pit bull, and all of a sudden, my grandma's dog had a puppy, and it was like, oh my god, or puppies. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I have all these people like, what's gonna happen when you get that dog. And in actuality, all these things that people had warned me that, when this happens, you're not going to be able to do this anymore. It seems like by me having a dog, a wife, and a baby, it's just opened up more world of possibilities. And I love it. I just get to see, like, it's a faster way of growing. And I guess I'm not too scared to be fun comfortable. I enjoy the experience of living and the sensations that come with it, and the mystery that's embedded in the amazing like the amazing adventure that we're all on. So yeah, does that answer
Yeah,
somewhat of your question?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like so many of these things that we want to take on or do, and people saying, oh, you can't do that, or you can't do this, or what are you going to do when this happens or that happens? And I think this is just sort of a part of the proof of like, well, you just kind of accept the call and you go with it, right? I mean, that's you find a way to make it work. I assume, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at these trees out the window as we're having this conversation, and I'm seeing all these different capillaries. Like it's like it's right before spring here, and the trees are pretty bare. And I imagine that like the branches that were thinking it couldn't be done didn't make it through like the cracks of the concrete, or didn't make it through the windstorms. It's just like the way to find out what you're capable of is keep going.
Mm-hmm.
To keep going and to keep choosing. And yeah, I think that's a big part of the Breaking Normal mission for me. My vision is to find out my own truth and to surround myself with other people that are like supercharged about telling theirs.
Yeah, totally. And I think like, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just listening.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like, yeah, totally. I mean, like, this is, and I think maybe if I was explaining, oh yeah, like there's this thing, Breaking Normal, whatever, people might think like, well, what does that mean? Like, what do I like? Do I have to like dye my hair green or like chant at the moon and like sit in lotus position on top of my head, and the vernal equinox? It's like, well, no, I think there's things that we can do every day, right? And like, along these journeys, along the road, there's things that happen, there's situations that open up and we get involved with and we move our lives forward. What are some things, and I know you talk about this in the book, but I'm interested in having you share that with our listeners. Like, what are some things that you put into practice in your life that helps you kind of keep going with the flow, accepting what's coming, moving on, continuing the journey? What are some practices, some beliefs, some things, some rituals maybe that you incorporate into your daily life?
Awesome. Yeah, I figured this would come up in the Mycadelic podcast. Man, I think firstly faith. Firstly, once again, reminding myself and y'all that we're the ones that are choosing our perception. That's a big realization for me.
Yeah.
When I realize I'm choosing how to perceive things, which pretty much dictates my reality, if I understand this correctly, that's a big deal. It's as if we are. Yeah, I do believe we're all connected to the same source, just as like the leaves are to the same source of the tree. But I also think we're all having our individual experiences, and that having faith that like, wow, I get to choose how to perceive this reality. So I'm choosing that I'm living the best life possible now and forever. That only gets better. God bless in Jesus' name, amen. Like I believe that. And I don't always know how that's going to show up. But man, when I have that faith, it seems that God or the creator of the universe or that source of all of us is on my side in that mission. So that's probably the one of the number one things, like overlying that. And then I'm very ritualistic. Like I can get into these routines and rituals that are, especially because I think I've been traveling for so long. It's pretty important to me to feel like have a way of feeling connected with something stable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Grounding, a little anchor. Yeah.
And because like it's not like I've lived in the same house. I barely lived in the same house for over a month in the last 11 years. Like our biggest commitment was the 14 months in Encinitas when right before Deanna gave birth to Davina. So I've lived a pretty unique lifestyle in that sense. So on that, it's helped me, I think, where a lot of people fall short of being able to continue on that type of tour is first they don't sleep enough, in my opinion. I really also prioritize my sleep.
Mm-hmm. So important.
There's like faith and there's sleep.
I haven't woken up with any device or alarm in I can't remember how long, like the last 2 decades, maybe decade or something. I don't know, but I know you talk about that too in the book, and it's so important, right?
Yeah. I like it's just the same thing. Like this phone, I'm looking at my phone. I believe like phones, all the technology of our phone mimics the technology we already have in our own body. And that's why this is why this is so amazing. It's just getting closer. This technology is getting closer to mimicking our actual potential. And this phone needs to charge.
Okay. And your body needs to charge. Is that a metaphor?
How long will this phone last without charging? How long does the phone last without charging? And how long does the phone last if you charge it routinely? And yeah, I think our bodies are much more extreme than that even. And so I'm a big believer in sleep without getting too dogmatic about it. And I mean like sleeping good, sleeping rested, sleeping well. And water, I think drinking the best water I can get in the most organic, aligned way is extremely important because that's next. It's like, what's my body made of? Water. I'm more water than anything else from my understanding on the physical level.
Right.
So what kind of water am I consuming? I almost consume like 3-4 liters of a day. So everyone is in different places in the world. And I know some people drink tap water, and that's interesting / crazy to me.
Why is that interesting / crazy to you?
Oh, well, first of all, most tap waters are treated with a white powder. And that white powder, I'm pretty certain, not only includes either chlorine and or fluoride, but maybe other things as well. I haven't really gotten many clear answers on what's in that white powder, other than the fluoride and the chlorine, which I don't think I need to consume.
No, I don't think we need that. Yeah. It's amazing that we just get they're just like, don't worry, we'll put some chemicals in there for you and just, spout it out through all your faucets. Like, yeah, I use a filter, a pretty aggressive filter. So,
yeah. And so the best water I would say is spring water. Give it like just fresh spring water right from the earth.
Oh yeah.
But there's different. We do, someone in a desert it might be important to carry water with them.
Right.
So I'm not dogmatic like, only drink from a spring. But I do think there's different degrees. So I like to take my water sincerely and really appreciate the water. And the air, same thing with the air. Man, what's the thing that we can last the least amount of time without is oxygen / air.
Yeah,
so
it was actually really funny. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I'm smoking like a nicotine vape because I used to smoke cigarettes. I quit. I quit a bunch of times, whatever. And I was like, yeah, this vape is just, it's probably not that bad, right? And he just like took a pause and looked at me. He's like, well, it's not as good as air, that's for sure. I was like, oh, damn it, you're right. Shit.
I was not as good as air. He said,
yeah.
Air is amazing. It's amazing. I love today. We had a nice cold day. And I love breathing in the cold air because I make it that's another ritual for years now, maybe multiple years now, is like really doing a lot of breath work, typically in the morning near cold, fresh water or cold water if I can. And that's pretty important to me. That's a pretty important way to keep me supercharged once again. That's like charging there's just also the same way with the phone metaphor. You can someone can charge your phone with a broken cord, or a cord that's not as effective, or a power outlet that's not as effective, or you can really supercharge quickly. And I make sure I usually get high on oxygen every morning. That's for sure. And food, the food I definitely choose to eat. I guess the ideal thing would be wild foods that would grow great without any intervention. I'm not only eating wild foods, but I think that's a good standard, a good superior, like a same way tribes used to eat. They would forage and hunt their food, because farming, even as an expression on the map. I mean, there's been lots of issues that have come with culture since the Industrial Revolution and farming.
Right.
So I think it's just something to be good aware. I love farmers. I have so many friends that are farmers, and it's so amazing. I think farming and growing food is so miraculous. Like, that's so awesome. But when farming and business mix, it can get a little cloudy.
Right.
So that's another reason I like the wild foods for sure. And then just rituals, especially because the mycadelic, I'm imagining y'all talk a lot about psychedelics.
Yes, we do.
And such. Yeah, cool. So this is not only psychedelics. First of all, I'm going to give since the psychedelic show, I feel like a lot of people that are into psychedelics are anti-alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a stereotype that might or might not be true. I love good beer. I love good beer.
So do I, yeah.
I've been loving good beers for a while.
I'm in the craft beer capital of the world, I think. Denver, Colorado. So yeah, I love beer.
Yeah, y'all have some good ones. Y'all got great ones. I even interviewed the founder of Stone Brewery on my podcast recently. That was awesome.
Oh, nice.
And I do think there's something about 2 beers. It's a nice dosage. 2 beers, I think, is a good dosage for me. I'll admit that the 2 beers I drank today were 9%. So it's like, where do you draw the line? But I've been doing that. Whether I'm not, and this is where it gets weird for me, because the psychedelics or medicine or drugs or any advice really. Actually, the funny thing is with the founder of Stone Brewery, he was really talking about this concept of ignoring everyone, how important it is to ignore everyone. I think there's even a book called that. And so I also, his main advice to me was to get everyone to ignore everyone. And so I want to pass that bit along before anyone tries to mimic me.
Sure.
So, but I can accurately report what I do for sure. And that's like, an ideal protocol for me would be keeping a ritual of like 6 days a week. That's something that really works. And then doing like a rest day on the 7th. And what's worked for me lately, like I love having in the morning when I wake up a green drink, or actually first 16 ounces of celery juice, organic pressed celery juice. I love that first. And that's a medical medium protocol. That's another whole rabbit trail. Someone can go up or down.
Right. Yeah. I've seen that recently. Yeah.
He I strongly suggest that, and I agree with it. It's a great idea. Then I make a green drink with a lot of citrus, maple syrup, kratom. Kratom seems to be a taboo tea.
Right. Yes.
Spirulina, golden milk, black seed oil. This is what I'll even tell you guys. Let me just tell you what I did today. That's what I did. I drank that. And then I have a mushroom mixture of the Stamets 7 from Host Defense. I had 2 of those. And then I had 2 lion's mane. And then I ate another mushroom, the ones that are, I think, legal in New Mexico, but maybe not everywhere else. Just one. Like a very small, like I imagine like 0.2 grams.
Right.
And then I went to do all that, like the breath work and the polar plunging and the yoga and the climbing. And then I did some hape. before swimming.
Oh, nice. Yes, I have
Hot
some
day
with
is like
me right now. Yeah.
okay, cool. So I get kind of hot. That's a way of administering like tobacco. That's good. More like a shamanistic tobacco / mixed with other barks and herbs and such. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you kind of blow it up your own nose in a way, or someone else does it for you.
Yep.
And I did a little bit of that, and my body, it's freaking freezing. It was cold out today, and I love doing that before swimming in cold water. Like I was actually swimming training. This is something I recently experimented with, doing it before swimming, and I really am enjoying that because it really drains, first of all, my face. It really drains my sinuses, and to do that in this well-fed pool while I'm swimming, and I'm cold, and my body's being heated up from the hape, it's like, wow, that feels real nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually interviewed someone for a podcast, and this way I usually smoke cannabis and or tobacco mixed later in the day, but sometimes I'll do it earlier in the day, and I puffed on some herbs, did my podcast, and then came here, played with baby, connected over one of my business partners about growing the business. Puffed some more herbs, had these 2 beers, then I'll have a magnificent dinner. Probably, if everything goes right, I'll get intimate in a primal way with my queen.
Nice.
And then I'll see if I can sleep because I've been training pretty hard in the morning. So that was today, and that's somewhat indicative of many of those days when I'm not taking a rest day of sorts.
Right.
But it varies so much as well. Like it all depends. But some of those, like kratom and tobacco and cannabis and beer and a little those in small dosages, I've been using for a while, and I've had guilt or judgments or ideas come out around that. I'm not sure why exactly. I can't tell if it's like an ancestral thing, a cultural thing, an actual thing. Because mostly I feel like my regimen really works for me, and I get really good results. But I do notice that temptation of the self-imposed prison as an option as well that I keep a safe distance from these days.
Yeah, amazing. You shared so many wonderful things there, and I kind of have a lot to say, but I think you mentioned earlier on as you started sharing that. Something about God and faith as well, and I would love for you to kind of maybe talk a little bit about how that informs your values or the morals that you live by, and how that meshes with the practices that you put into place.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've definitely I don't know if I've talked about this much, but I definitely like pray in the name of Jesus a lot, especially when using substances or plants. I know substances is such a weird name because most of the things that I'm calling substances are actually either plants that are just ground up or fermented.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty much all natural stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah, or burned and inhaled.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's something there that it's a spirit. It is an act of it's like a spiritual act. And I think when we're in the spirit realm, when I'm in the spirit, if I'm in a place I believe is open more than usual spiritually, it's very important for me to remind myself to choose faith. And I think the one way I've done that over the years is my belief in God and having a faith in Yeshua and what that represents, and that it's like it's good. It's everything's taken care of. It's good. Lean back. Enjoy this experience. This is a gift. Dream big.
Yes, indeed. Yes, it is. It's just so wonderful to be in this domain of reality, to be breathing and to be, all of our organs to be functioning, and we don't have to, do anything necessarily. And really, for all of us out there that are functioning fairly healthy in our lives, it's like, what a gift, what a grateful feeling. And now I know you've kind of talked about meditation and prayer and kind of the differences between those things. And, I think that a lot of people sort of in the psychedelic spiritual consciousness realm kind of understand, meditation and its values and benefits. And I'd love for you to share that as well, what you get from that. But also, I'd love to hear more about prayer and how, what that means to you, and how that really kind of helps you, and why maybe some people should consider maybe praying a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I simply and really believe that prayer is synonymous with expression or speaking. Like, I think everything I say, I'm praying. And that meditation is pretty much the other side of that coin, which is like accepting or acknowledging or listening. And I think when we do that on purpose and someone calls in a meditation and or a prayer, that's like ceremoniously significant, and that's awesome because it's reminding us of the reality that we're always
in. Right.
So I believe me and you are praying and meditating together, and I also believe this is in the Bible, like, under more religious context, when I think it's said that, like, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am. I think when two people are together, that's church.
Wow.
And
man, that just kind of hit me, man. Wow.
Yeah, so I believe we're in church praying and meditating together.
Awesome.
And when people symbologize it, that's special as well. That actually, it's like I can go just eat in a corner. I can just go hurry up and eat a hot dog or a hamburger or French fries real quick. Or I can like sit around and enjoy a meal with like my family and friends and make it ceremonious and have candles and good music and outdoors over a fire.
Yeah.
But they're both so significant. I just think one is more intentional. So, I think we're praying all the time. And to be intentional about it is super powerful, because the symbols that we charge with emotion are really powerful. I'm not sure actually what's more powerful than an idea. And ideas are conveyed with words and with paired with emotion. And when someone can do that in a powerful way, they can historically create a Holocaust or an Exodus or a war or peace or whatever. It almost seems like anything's possible.
Right, a party. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. I grew up Catholic, and I went through a phase where, for a period of time, and this kind of relates to a little bit what you were talking about before, about how breathing clean air and drinking clean water and eating clean food, and that I went through this phase where I kind of realized, and the catalyst was probably a profound psychedelic experience. Not probably, it was. It was a high dose LSD experience, and that really broke me out of my self-imposed prison, and it also gave light to sort of the reality of what we call reality, what we call normal, what we accept, what we allow, And so I went through this phase of like, well, the fucking church is a lie. It's a scam. It's terrible. Fuck that. And became this kind of militant atheist. The government is just poisoning everyone and trying to kill everyone. They're polluting our air, water, all, and like, sure, there's like some truths to all this kind of stuff, but I got really kind of aggressive about it. And for a while, and it was kind of off-putting. I mean, some people really dug into it. If you think of like someone like Alex Jones, who's just, they're putting fluoride in the water, and and it's like, yeah, there's like a truth to all that kind of stuff, but in the way that you sort of present it, in the way that you kind of, communicate that, I think is so important. So, I guess what I want to ask is like, did you have this sort of like coming to a realization moment of all these things that we accept as being kind of normal and in our world, that it's not really being given to us by the wisest people that are benevolent and looking out for us? So kind of requires us to like do a little inner work and search and think for ourselves a little bit more. I'm wondering like what that was like for you, if you had any sort of angry emotions associated with that, like I did, and how you kind of handled that and transitioned to sort of the really fun, peaceful, method that you have been applying to your life now and for the past, years.
Yeah. I think it's a pendulum of sorts that the frustration is usually a mask for something bigger, which might be a mask for anger, which might be a mask for sadness, which might be a mask for unconditional love. And it's a constant opportunity, it seems, to choose faith over fear or frustration over fun. And anything that I see, if I get something, like I've seen some things around here lately, like these people spraying, like someone that's been hired to spray trees for weeds. And whatever the freak, first of all, what the heck is a weed? And why are so many worked up about a weed?
Goddamn weeds, we gotta get rid of them.
What's the difference between a weed and a flower? Like, what is this weed thing? And regardless, maybe there's someone who'll have a great answer. Is it necessary to hire someone to spray poison on trees next to playgrounds where kids and dogs play?
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm like, come on. It would be weird for me to get mad at the guy that's getting paid to do it, because he's like more of a messenger of this idea. But yeah, to me, they're like, me being frustrated about that is a huge opportunity for me to do something about it. It's like a little spice. It's a little spice for this meal of life.
Yeah.
I don't need to be destructive. I don't need to get angry in a way that is not cultivating more power in me. I don't need to leak my anger. I don't need to deflect it. I can use that as fuel for my fire to do something more fun and faithful. And for one, that's speaking about it, like we are right now. Because I believe, like, what's more powerful than an idea? So when I can speak about these ideas, maybe other people will get frustrated enough to start asking why the frustrated fucking rated are people spraying trees with poison because weeds might come up.
Oh my God, yeah. And it's like we've just embodied that idea so much as a culture. I mean, everybody, it's cliche by now, but it's like, those like ads for, oh, are you feeling sad or depressed, or, take Zoloft, side effects may include like suicidal thoughts. You might eat your whole family and become a cannibal. And it's like, whoa. Like we've just gotten used to this idea of like, hey, if there's a problem, let's just put some chemicals on it. Let's just spray some poisonous shit. Let's take poisonous shit. Let's put it on our skin. And, it's just strange. I think that like, and, I know this is kind of a big question, but like, why do you think we accept this and like allow it?
Well, I don't think we do like that. Like I trust that me and you don't. That's why we're talking about it. That's why I think we're taking our most aligned action on it.
Right.
And then I think other people maybe don't do anything about it to even add fuel to the fire of people that will do something about it. I mean, I think nature is fierce, and that one of the way I see it, to create a new life / a new Divina, I may have expressed billions of entities in the form of unique sperm. One landed, one created a new world. And I don't know. I don't know if nature is that fierce. I don't know if it's like 1 out of billions or the one that creates a whole new earth. Or that also intrigues me more about Jesus. But and all, like any spiritual master, it's like, whoa. Yeah. Is it really like this? Like, is it really that? Not Napoleon Hill. Let's put it this way. Have you read Outwitting the Devil?
I have not. No, I know Napoleon Hill, but I haven't read that book.
Yeah, that's a freaking good one. That's so good. He basically claims to have a conversation with the devil, and the devil, like, it's almost like he's channeling the devil or something. And the devil pretty much expresses that he has 98% of the population on hypnotic trance and drifting under his spell.
Ooh.
And I don't know, like that does. In a way, I wonder sometimes, is that true? I can see the point. I've considered it.
I think so. I think
But
so.
it's scary. It's scary to even consider that for me because I don't believe. There's a part of me that doesn't believe it. Like I believe in something. It just might be a slight shift in my perception or something. I'm still wanting to wrap my mind around why do people not ask those questions? Like, why does someone not ask in school? Or like, how does that happen? How does someone go from like a curious child that's willing to scream for what they want to like being manipulated into do it, like living their whole life to fit into the rest of the herd?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, when you think about it, it can be startling. And I think that that's a reason why I sort of got into a very militant, aggressive attitude about things. Cause I was like, fuck, man, we've been lied to, all this shit, and, so I think that kind of knowing that and sort of knowing that that is the case, but also knowing that like, at the blackest of nights in the sky, the stars are still there, and then every once in a while it's a black night and you can't see anything, and one little star pops out in the distance, and it's like, yes, like there is the light, like there is light coming through the darkness. And I kind of tend to think that that's sort of the situation that maybe we're in, where there's this kind of big darkness, but people need to know that they're stars and that they're shining all the time, and that we can penetrate through that darkness. And I don't know, maybe that sounds a little grandiose, but I kind of tend to maybe believe that. I think that nothing can really stop light from coming through.
Yeah. Like one candle can light every other candle. There's no shortage of the flame, and I agree. It's like maybe that's just the same distance we are from the sun. Maybe that's the same amount of space we need from the light as a collective, so that we can keep evolving. Who knows? It's a big mystery. But I think like with another answer to the question is another suggestion book is Virus of the Mind. That's a good one. Like now that we've recommended Breaking Normal, Outwitting the Devil, Virus of the Mind, that's a good cocktail of ingredients to explore the question of why that is. And my guess is Virus of the Mind might, under that context, it would be the culture may have been created basically to control and subdue people for the sake of the system, which may have been pretty vital at that point. But it's like almost the idea has taken over, and now we're recovering as a species and like coming out of an emotional dark age where this system like overtook people's intuition. Mm-hmm. Just as like why people fear that could artificial intelligence take over if something goes buggy in the program or something.
Right.
I think that has happened in a way with the artificial intelligence of ideas, and people like kind of bought into a bunch of stories from people that were becoming very like independently rich.
Yeah.
And that's no longer that. We're evolving from that real fast with the new, the new values and ideas. Any good or service that can be replicated from a robot or whatever it might be, I think it's going to become quite obsolete as a valuable thing pretty quickly.
Right.
So it's like being a human is what's valuable. Like being completely activated in our human bodies is what's valuable. So let's go ahead and do it, and let's celebrate. And maybe that contrast is kind of like, why do people love movies that are like where the hero's journey is embedded?
Right.
Maybe we're on our own hero's journey as humanity. So we all can continue celebrating together on the adventure.
Yeah. Amen to that for sure. Yeah. And I think that, this, like seeing people out there like you doing this, bringing this to life, using this democratization of information, this decentralization of information and resources and sharing through the internet. We could just be terrible, right? Like we could use the internet, we could yell at each other and call each other fat and, all kinds of names and argue with each other about who's right all day. And we can get sucked into this thing and it can become a prison, right? Just like anything else. Or we could use it to sort of wake people up and show them a different way. Just show them a different way. And say, hey, like, There's people out, like, we don't have to play this game. Like, we can play a different game. I'm telling you, you're probably going to like it. It's fun, right? It's different. It's engaging. It's unique, but it requires your participation. It requires your choice. Your decision. And I think that this is a great time to be alive and a great time to be doing this stuff and bringing that message out there. And I know you have your latest project is the Breaking Normal podcast, and that's just another avenue for you to bring this message out to the people. Tell me about that. Like, tell me about how that got started, and what you're learning going through this process and building this podcast, and who you're interviewing, and kind of what you're trying to bring out to the people with this.
Yeah. Basically, I believe I hold a nice space. Like, one of my gifts is looking at something. I believe by just looking at something, and I believe a lot of people have this gift. Some it might be more accentuated than others, that it becomes better. So and someone of my friends was one of my clients at one point, she's like an intuitive of sorts, highly, like, her name's Jill Feeler. If anyone wants to check out someone that's pretty powerful,
Very
that
apt name, yeah.
that I still don't understand. She would say something. She's like, Daniel, whatever you look at turns to gold. And I started getting this idea at one point, and I like that idea. I like that idea metaphorically. And when I published the book, my next project was basically to publish the app and the podcast, and then republish the book with that information in there, and that becomes like the tripod of the brand. If someone finds out about the book, they'll find out about the app and podcast. If someone finds out about the podcast, they'll find out about the app and the book.
Right.
And so the podcast is just tier or rear, or what is it called? Like tier 2 or tier 2 or 3 of this rung of this ladder that I'm seemingly going up. I say that because the app, I've been in development for a while. It's still not fully ready. But the podcast is fully ready. Mm-hmm. I've been traveling for so long. I know so many amazing people. I'm so blessed for that. I've had so many amazing conversations that I finally invested in, like, a real proper audio setup. And now when I'm traveling, I drop in with some of those people that I think would be epic for the podcast. And I launched it right around Christmas, and there's already been about like 28 or 30 episodes, I believe.
Amazing.
With amazing people, that I really think are breaking normal in an enlightening way.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Who are some of the guests that you've had on recently? I saw you were with Preston Smiles. I think did you mention Jay Sheedy? I know you mentioned him before. Yeah, I think JP's been on, right?
Yeah, JP was the first episode, and then I'm thinking of some other people. Hal Elrod was soon after that, who wrote The Miracle Morning. That book has sold over 1 million copies. Today I interviewed Jesse Elder. Okay. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's known as like the Time Piercer, and he did a recent video on Facebook about like time is an illusion that went ultra viral. Andrew Seeley, who does a big yoga podcast, awesome guy. Troy Casey, that was one. He opened it up with a hot base session. That was pretty fun. Nice. Yeah, and then Adam Roa. Some people might recognize him as the guy that he did a video. Speaking of viral videos, I think it's called like The Art of Choosing Love. The Goalcast shared.
Nice.
It might be approaching 200 million views at this point, like 150, 100 something. Crazy. And it was like just at a speech at a Kyle Cease event, and then they kind of refined it and republished it with subtitles, and it just went ultra viral. And even the lady I'm staying with my friend in Austin, we're subletting one of the rooms in her house. Her name is Ellen Smoke, and she runs the Society of Women Entrepreneurship. So it's my wife, I interviewed her. That was a crazy one. There's a lot of good episodes in there for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And people can go check that out on Apple Podcasts, right? And everywhere podcasts are.
Yep, exactly.
We'll put the link in there and everything. So yeah, this is great. I mean, it just seems like, what you're doing, you're really calling other people to show up and come forward and let their inner wild, out, and their weird, and break this, erroneous notion of what we deem to be normal. And you're just like wherever you go, just people are popping up and creating their own things and really taking charge of their lives. Now, I could hear some people, listening to this saying like, oh, well, that's all great for this guy and, Mike Adelic or whoever. And, but not me, because I'm in, some shitty neighborhood in Detroit. And I just, I don't make a lot of money and, whatever, I can't do this stuff. Like, what would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's all subjective, and I would agree with him. If he told me that, I would agree with him. Like, sure, okay,
right.
I believe most people are getting what most people most of the time are getting what they want. They're getting what they're looking for, because once again, they're choosing how to perceive it. And there's also, I do believe, with this 98% hypnotic trance potentiality, that we're coming out of an emotional dark age, and that many people are addicted to what a psychologist might argue, or a psychotherapist might argue, as lower emotions. Because it's really more comfortable for people a lot of the times to play small and argue for their limitations rather than fumble around and tinker to find out their real genius.
Mm. Yeah, well said.
So a little bit of that, and I think that's been perpetuated even a lot in schools. I do these, like, I've done a few breaking normal news flashes with my daughter, and for instance, one of them is called the domestication of education.
Mm.
Schools and farms and prisons are suspiciously similar.
Yeah.
Check them out,
dude.
y'all.
Yeah, dude. I remember, I'll never forget this. When I was in college, my friends and I, we were at the apartments that we lived on campus, and someone was like checking like the seats that we were sitting on or something, and so we're like, this chair sucks, and they Googled it, and the same chair that was making chairs for the school was also making chairs for prisons.
Yeah, and even the idea of prison is crazy. That's crazy too. It's like, I understand it maybe in some way, but the way that, like, the current school system and farming system and school system, we really, if we're all one, we probably want to look at those.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because if we're all one, how we treat the lowest parts of ourselves, or the parts of ourselves that we're trying to ignore, or the parts of ourselves that we don't know what to do with, or the parts of ourselves that we're feeding ourselves with, we really want to look at farms, schools, and prisons, and why they're so similar, and what we can do maybe to upgrade all of them.
Yeah, because we're definitely due for an upgrade.
And I think it's happening. And we're talking about it as it's happening. And we're like news reporters. Like
yeah. This week
breaking
in
normal news reporters.
Yeah. This week in Breaking Normal: schools, prisons, and farms. How can you get your children out? Keep your animals. Is there something poisoning your animals? Like, you always see this on like the news, the way that they present things. Like, is something poisoning the meat that you're eating? Find out tonight at 10. It's like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
Can you tell us now?
If you enjoy that, you'll really enjoy Virus in the Mind.
Nice.
It's a really good book that illuminates a lot of how ideas are spread and how they spread like viruses.
Oh my God, yeah. And I can think of another example. I'm driving in my car one day, and on the radio is like something like, "A little girl raped and murdered in Queens. Find out tonight at 9." And it's like, whoa. You just delivered some like really heavy information there, man. Like, shouldn't we kind of be communicating this thing in a more appropriate way? Like, rather than this kind of fast-paced, like, news anchor voice, more of like, hey, guys, like, hold the phone. A terrible tragedy has happened today, right?
Yeah, I think that also has to do with a lot of the collective fear around death. That's something I was talking to Jesse with today, and I'm not saying I haven't had that fear, or I don't have that fear, but the media plays on that in almost like I would say a distasteful way. It's like,
yeah.
First of all, yeah, the fear. What's the difference between birth and death? I think it's a good thing to consider.
Right.
And then why not celebrate births too? If we're going to celebrate, Yeah, they're not even celebrating them sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, kind of like exploiting them or something.
The
Yeah.
news channel is really, they're good at that, exploiting people's trigger points to get them to pay attention, because that is true currency, is attention.
Mm. Yeah, clicks, shares, likes, yeah, we all get involved in that game. And
Because that consumes people's time.
yeah. Yeah, time, which is your most valuable resource. Every second of the day is your most valuable resource, is right there for free.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Free for none. Free for 99.
Oh, but wait, act now and get more time for just $27.99.
Choose your time wisely. Here it is. It's right there. Just say yes.
Well, I got to say, Daniel, thank you so much for deciding to choose your time with me and Mike Delic and all the listeners out there. I think this was a really fantastic conversation, and I'd love to do it again. I'd love to come to one of the tribe designs and just meet you in person. You seem like a really genuine, down-to-earth person that's got some pretty good insights and is spreading a pretty good message out there. So, yeah, just tell people, where they can find you and follow you, and any upcoming events or anything you want to share. Let them know.
Yeah. So breakingnormal.com has pages for the podcast and the book. I definitely encourage Audible. That way nothing is even...
Yeah,
can you imagine? Nothing is even exchanged.
You read the book, right?
Yeah, I read it. JP reads the foreword.
Oh, great.
You don't even have to print or buy, you don't have to print or have anything delivered. You just pay whatever the Audible price is, or some people get it for free if this is their first book or whatever the deal is, if they have credits, and you tune into the frequency. It's a good one. It was a long time in the making, and me in a very inspired state expressing what I thought was the golden thread of what I've learned from doing all these events and beyond. And yeah, the next event is here in Austin, March 22nd. If anyone wants to find out, to keep a tab on that, International Tribe Design, which is also linked to my Breaking Normal website. And yeah, I'm on social media a good bit, on Instagram and the podcasting. And
yeah, what's your Instagram name? Is it just
my
Daniel?
name?
Okay.
Yep, Daniel Eisenman. Daniel Eisenman.
Great. Yeah, I would be at that retreat, except I'm going on a mushroom retreat in the mountains at that time. So
nice. Which mountains?
Up in towards Breckenridge here in Colorado.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very much.
Mushrooms. Pay attention to them. I think anytime someone's let's talk about a cultural meme that may have gotten out of control, trying to punish people or outlaw something that grows from the ground, I would also be suspicious of that or look into it.
Definitely, yes. I think that it's a part of nature. We're a part of nature, and if nature is illegal, then freedom doesn't exist, as they say. So, good messages. And I just figured maybe, since you brought up the book again, and I just think it's such a great book, and I know how much time you put into it and everything. And it's really, when you read a book, you're really getting inside the mind of the person who's putting all this time, this energy and effort. But if you could just maybe share a little kind of sum up of the message that you're really trying to communicate there. I mean, it's a fantastic book. You have to check it out. But if you give people a little kind of, tidbit of this message that you're trying to bring forth.
Yeah, for sure. The subtitle is Rewild Your Inner Child and Set the Truth Free. And I think it's a real fun, comfortable guide to health through honesty and heart sync over groupthink, and cultivating confidence and communicating what's happening and the beauty in that. Because what I've found through all these experiences, and I've heard in a nice saying before, this seems to be true, this sorrow halved. I mean, a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved, and a joy shared is a joy doubled. That humans are meant to synergize and communicate and be on each other's teams. It's we're social creatures. And how can we be the best social creatures we possibly can be? Is by not trying to be like anyone else necessarily, but more really channel that pure energy that created us in the first place. And I think Breaking Normal has all these exercises that are cool to remind ourselves of that, and can really deepen meaningful relationships. What I like to call our real relationships, not only with each other, but ourselves as well.
Yes. Real relationships. Amazing. Yeah. Excellent. Well, you want to break some normal again and, continue to and make like a weird noise or shout something out or just do something crazy? Wow.
Let's see. I can. Let me see if I got a pretty good alien noise potentially.
Let's hear it.
I'm gonna maybe start with an ohm and shift it to the alien noise. Oh.
Wow. 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 Awesome. Daniel, thanks so much for getting weird on Micadelic. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for spending your time with us. Amazing. Looking forward to doing it again, my friend, and looking forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks again. Everyone out there, stay weird, break normal, be Micadelic. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Hope you guys like these podcasts and enjoy them. And if you do, please spread the podcast, share it, tell a neighbor, tell a coworker, tell a friend, tell a cat, tell a mouse, tell a dog, tell an ant, tell a firefly, tell whoever you tell. Share it, spread it, like it, all that good stuff. If you really love the show, you want to go a step further, you really want to help us out, leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, and go to patreon.com/Mike Brank, and patreon.com/Mike Brank, and you can donate as little as $1 a month, $2 a month, whatever you want. Help support the show that way as well. But remember, I love you guys no matter what you do. I just love that you tune in and you enjoy these podcasts. Message me. I like hearing feedback. Get in touch with me on Instagram, Micadelic Podcast, Mike Brank on Facebook as well. And thanks to our sponsors, Synchro and Hemp Bombs. If you want a discount on ketogenic and plant-based nutrition products, go to Synchro and type in the code Micadelic at checkout to get 20% off. And they have amazing ketogenic chocolate fudge called Keto Mana that I have all the time because it has like no sugar and carbs in it. So it's great. And it's delicious. And if you want CBD, go to hempbombs.com and get 15% off all your CBD needs, I guess. And just enter the code Mike15 at checkout. But thank you once again to everybody. Thanks to Danny Barnett and Galaxia for the music, the intro and the outro. I love you all. Peace.